At least 36 militants and 8 police officers were killed in the fighting between Taliban militants and security forces in the Afghan capital of Kabul at midday on Sunday. Insurgents also carried out attacks in other provinces. The attack was one of the deadliest in Kabul since the international invasion, and discussing this issue with us today will be our guest, Andrei Stepanov, the Middle East expert. Fighting between Taliban militants and security forces in the Afghan capital of Kabul ended on Monday after more than 18 hours of intense gunfire and rocket attacks. The U.S. ambassador suggests the fighting may be the work of the Haqqani tribal militant network rather than the Taliban. He told CNN television that the Taliban was not good enough. And what is your opinion?
Actually, the Americans are trying to cover up. They claim that they entered direct negotiations with Taliban and the peace is very close and they will withdraw and everything will be all right in Afghanistan. That's why they are blaming just another militant group, a Haqqani group. But I think that the last outburst of hostilities in the center of the country, in the capital, in Kabul, it proves once more that Taliban and the resistance of Afghan people can strike any place, any time, and all the American claims that they are gaining ground, they are winning the population, they are pacifying the country, they are moving forward politically, it is actually baseless.
Western forces prepare to leave the country by 2014, as you already mentioned. Last week, the head of the Collective Security Treaty Organization said the planned 2014 withdrawal of international coalition forces from Afghanistan would only aggravate the situation in the country and the region. Do you share this point of view?
The NATO forces and the United States, they sustained a profound political defeat in Afghanistan, and nothing can change that result of their presence, almost 10-year presence in Afghanistan. And their withdrawal is inevitable. And every responsible expert recognize that the defeat is obvious and there is no other way but to withdraw. But the problem is to save the face, so to say, of the NATO and the Americans, just to make it look as if they had withdrawn as victors, but not as the defeated side.
And how do you see Afghanistan after withdrawal of troops?
You know, there won't be any catastrophe. All those predictions, are not very good very soundly founded on the Afghanian realities. I think that the solution is quite obvious, even for the Americans. There is inevitable downfall of the current government, headed by Karzai. He is a stooge, he won't survive. And then I think that there should be a kind of a peaceful solution. And the Taliban, they refuse to negotiate with the Americans before their withdrawal. Their first condition is first withdrawal, then negotiations and forming of a national unity government. I think that the most proper form for Afghanistan is a kind of a federation. Self-rule in the north, self-rule in the south, in the Taliban area of Pushtun tribes, and the northern area of Tajik tribes will be also under the conditions of self-rule and autonomy. And the central part, Hazarians, Shiites, and the capital, probably there will be formed a special zone under the protection of the UN, of peacekeepers and etc. So it will be a loose federation. That's the only outcome of that Afghan tragedy, which lasted more than 10 years.
You're listening to Inside View.
Our guest today is Andrei Stepanov, the Middle East expert. The director of the NATO Information Bureau in Moscow says that NATO troops may stay in Afghanistan after 2014.
He may say anything he likes, but he is not the boss who takes the decisions.
But you think it is inevitable, the withdrawal?
Absolutely inevitable.
I see.
Absolutely.
In December 2011, a list of measures was approved to counteract security challenges and threats from the territory of Afghanistan, which include forming the anti-drug and financial security zones around the Central Asian state. So what are the results of these measures? I mean, how are they actualized?
Well, frankly speaking, the Americans and the NATO forces are quite indifferent toward the combating of growing of narcotics and narcotic possession and narcotic traffic. They're quite indifferent. It's out of their space of responsibility, and they feel quite indifferent. Well, it's not the problem of the United States. Well, the narcotics traffic from South America, from Colombia, from Peru, that's important for the United States. But in Afghanistan, no. It's a problem of Russia and nobody else. So, well, the prolongation of the presence of NATO troops and American troops in Afghanistan, it won't help in any way in solving the problem of narcotics, because narcotics are much more parallel threat to the Russian security than the so-called threat of extreme Islamism represented in Taliban rule.
And how do you see Russia's role in Afghan conflict?
Well, Russia probably can play a role of a mediator. I would strongly advise for the Russian side to begin contacts with Taliban as the future ruling force in southern part of Afghanistan, and the main, so to say, block to the narcotics traffic, because during their stay as the power, they succeeded in curbing the narcotics production, and almost they led it to a nil, to a zero level, and it was a great success. So the combating the narcotic threat should be done by local forces exclusively, with certain help from outside, even from Russia.
I see. Thank you very much for your commentary. Thank you for joining us today.
Not at all.
All the best. Goodbye. That was Inside View and our guest Andrei Stepanov, the Middle East expert.
Inside View with Yana Alexeyenko.